Welcome back to another Broken Podcast. I'm Nick Taylor, and today we've got Kyle with us. Kyle, introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
My name's Kyle Spaulding. It's a pleasure to be here, Nick. Thanks for having me on. I'm a Marine veteran. I served during the War on Terror, Iraq, 2005, 2006. I was in Ramadi. My wife and I, we live up on side of a mountain in Montana, completely off grid. Kind of did it for, mental health and to find some semblance of peace. And so far it's been working. But yeah, no, pleasure to be here.
Getting somewhere where you can be at peace and your mental headspace can be clear, that is worth more than anything.
Oh, yeah, it's priceless.
That's the whole reason I'm here where I'm at too, is that this is the place where I feel the most grounded, you know?
Right. Yep.
Um,
I understand that entirely.
I left Tennessee and came back to the place where I was born. It was probably the best decision that I made for my mental health, and I didn't know it at the time,
Sure.
because there's the pain and the loss in making that move. I don't. Did you guys experience any of that?
Yeah, I think for me, the weird part was like after I got out of the Marine Corps, I moved immediately to Texas just because that where I left from. Basically, I was an Air Force brat, so we moved all around. This was the first time, and I've lived in big cities since then. Went to college in Nacogdoches, Texas, lived in Houston, San Antonio, Phoenix, all that place. And what was interesting is when we first moved up here, the quiet gets to you at first because you're so used to sort of the cacophony of the social interaction constantly that you get kind of paranoid, but you have to work through that and then it becomes like true peace. So it's
I got
interesting.
I got so used to the sound of like droning generators and things like that. Total silence kind of scares me sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because we'll hear a car 5 miles out and both my wife and I be like, what is that? Who is that? It's like, okay, calm down. It's probably just a tourist.
So today I wanted to talk with you and get a mix of both your and my experiences talking about the veteran mental health crisis and how that's changed and where it stands today with the recent changes in the VA. Veteran suicide remains to be a critical issue. About 6,000 veterans die by suicide annually. In 2022, VA reported that 1 in 3 veterans have PTSD, 1 in 10 struggle with substance abuse and disorder, and 17 veterans die by suicide on average each day. And we know that we've heard statistics of 22 a day for
Right.
some years. This was based off of VA's most up to date report, which this one was in 2022. As a fellow combat veteran, what does this daily reality of loss mean to you personally and to our community of veterans?
That's a great question. For me, I can speak to this on two fronts. First, I'll start with like I myself tried to take my own life after my second deployment. Just wasn't handling the loss of my best friend over there that well, and moment of weakness ended up ending my Marine Corps career. I got charged with a bad conduct discharge. They charged me with drug abuse, and at the time, even through that whole process, it just felt like betrayal because I knew something was wrong, but back then in 2007, 2006 era, they still thought of, sort of PTSD. It's like, I'll rub some dirt in it. You're fine. Toughen up, whatever. But I knew something was off. That's my story personally of experiencing that loss. And that's why this hits so hard for me. And then secondly, we've lost 5 from our unit to suicide, and every single one of them I was close to. So it's just been a constant reminder of the necessity for mental health resources, and not to mention just VA resources are absolutely paramount because like not everybody has private insurance, and stuff like that. And so this potential loss of VA services is just terrifying.
I 100% agree with you. I've been in the situation multiple times. I'm a frequent flyer with 988, which is why some of these cuts have really upset me because I've built relationships with people from those 988 calls. And two of the guys that helped me uh, come down from the ledge that I was on no longer
Sure.
have a job.
Goodness.
I don't understand that because it's kind of the same thing as like your discharge being wrong. Um,
Right.
why would you take somebody out disrespectfully when they're doing the job that they're supposed to be doing and they're doing it well.
Exactly. It's just an utter betrayal. They have this just, I don't know, we're fodder for political sort of sentiment now. And it's just sad. And it's been that way for a while.
There's been a lot more surfacing and a lot more surfacing quickly, but that's just because the climate
Sure.
around things in general has changed. And thankfully, that means that a lot more people are paying attention than were before.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the optics of it have changed too over the years, especially with social media and things of that nature too. And I think that's great, honestly. And like, to your question here with like, how does it sort of affect our community? I think the one advantage of people who serve is the camaraderie in general. So, even with the loss of VA benefits, I think now is the time to really rally around that. Check on your buds, call them up, see how they're doing. Cause I think that's important now. Cause a lot of guys are scared, they're afraid they're going to lose their one thing that's keeping them sane.
Mhm. Oh, 100%. I talk to him all the time, and in fact, my best friend following losing my other one, him and I had to break off our relationship just because I'd been trying to steer him towards help for so many years, and he would never accept that he
Ah,
needed it. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the space anymore to hold that for him
sure.
when he wasn't willing to help himself. But unfortunately, that is the case that there's a lot of people that are scared of it. And I know that's why he had such a hard time with it because he was afraid of confronting his own feelings. And I get that because it's hard. It's not an
It
easy
is.
thing.
It is. I mean, I couldn't even talk about the story of my attempted suicide for 17 years. And it wasn't until probably 2 years ago I was able to be like, you know what, with everything going on, I don't feel ashamed about it anymore because, I mean, frankly, my wife has been absolutely instrumental in helping me sort of digest that to not feel shame around it. So
That's
yeah, it
awesome.
is hard because like, yeah, you look at therapy as like, there's that toxic masculinity aspect of it, like, oh, I don't need that. I'm tough. I can rub some dirt in. It's like, no, you can't. Like, you
That's
need
a
help.
100% why I started this podcast.
Fantastic. I know, and I love it, man. It's great.
So we've already kind of like dipped into this one a little bit, but the staffing cuts and how that could cause service disruptions. The VA has initiated massive workforce reductions. Around 17,000 jobs have been cut by mid 2025, with a goal of 30,000 by September. These reductions potentially affecting up to 83,000 when we talk about it getting to the end, threaten mental health services by increasing wait times, causing appointment cancellations, and shifting of remote access availability. The VA has also canceled union contracts with 370,000 plus employees, increasing fears of diminished advocacy and protection for providers. How are the staffing and policy changes hitting veterans on the ground when it comes to their own care, especially those that are waiting for PTSD care or needing for crisis support?
I guess so for me, like I've had the opportunity to make some pretty good like heavy hitting friends on TikTok, like Christopher Goldsmith, who operates Task Force Butler. He's been really spearheading a lot of the fight back against these cuts and stuff. So on June 6th, I went to the veterans rally there hosted by Unite for Veterans and DC. And I was amazed not only at the level of turnout, but the voice that was there. I mean, we were on the National Mall area, like in the grassy area, and like we made sure to make it loud. And my goodness, the emotions were flying. And I know the federal workers heard us. And so seeing that level of like fear and sort of the response to it of these potential cuts is it's scary, but it's also sort of hopeful because like there's a lot of guys out there willing to fight for this.
When you were out there, there was all generations. Even the older generations of veterans were out there.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, just to see the turnout with just such a diverse group of veterans that have served across all wars. I mean, there was a guy out there we were talking to. He was in his late 80s and he was talking about, the Korean War and stuff like that and totally wheelchair bound and just saying he's so appreciative that, the younger generations of veterans are trying to fight this fight because he understands the gravity of it and stuff. So it was very, very emotional and moving to be part of that, honestly.
Back when I was in Middle Tennessee, while I was at Alvin C. York, it's a huge VA facility in the South. So there's actually, I mean, people even get sent from Ohio down to
Oh,
there.
wow.
because of this, like, they have a surgery center available and stuff like that. So it rather than sending them to outpatient surgery and having to pay
Sure.
the surgeon outpatient, they'd rather ship them to there. And one time I actually what was that crazy battle in the Korean War where they were fighting on that hillside and there was only like 300 of them.
Oh, yeah, oh my goodness, I can't think of it off the top of my head. I have the mental picture of it in my mind, just
Yeah,
remember looking through the pictures of it.
I met a dude that was in that. It was the
Wow.
coolest thing I had, like, that's the coolest veteran story that I've got of my entire life, and we just talked because we parked next to each other. It's wild. That's one of the cool things about the VA too, is, like, getting to meet the like you said, the diversity of veterans that you saw while you were out there and seeing who turned out. I mean, even just while you're visiting the VA in general, the diversity of people in there, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, it really is, and that's incredible. That's an honor to meet because those were some hard
Dude,
chargers back there during that battle.
dude,
My goodness, I can't even
oh my
imagine.
gosh, like, I got chills while he was telling me about it. It was an amazing, experience for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. Those are all the guys we looked up to when we were doing all of our, history classes and boot camp. Like those are the real heroes.
Dude, yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I mean, people still talk about it today. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
In the midst of all the negative, there are some positive initiatives for VA mental health care. Outpatient mental health wait times have dropped to about 17 days, which is now shorter than getting an appointment with primary care. The first three outpatient mental health or substance use visits are copay free, regardless of service connection to a psych condition, including automatic refunds for veterans who have paid since June 27th of 2023. A new 3-year pilot, HR 1290, requires VA facilities to refer veterans in crisis to approved non-VA mental health providers. The Veterans Access Act of 2025 seeks to codify access standards, prevent manipulation of wait times, and ensure transparency about care options, including community care options. The 2025 VA mental health rating overhaul now evaluates impairments across 5 domains: cognition, relationship, task completion, environment navigation, self care, simplifying claims and improving compensation fairness. Do you think that these initiatives will even be possible with the impact we have already seen from a reduction in staff and the looming threat of a further force reduction?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I think a lot of veterans are thinking in their minds is like, to the credit of the VA staff, I have never met anyone at the VA that works there that was terrible at their job, right? They all really care. And so I think with the staff reduction, they're still going to put forth that effort. However, it's about volume, right? And so when you lose the people's ability to have the resources to be able to dish them out, what do? Right. And so I think these initiatives are great in theory, but because of the current administration and the way things are going, I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest. I mean, there's already record walkouts for VA staff because the morale is low amongst them and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, goodness gracious,
Yeah.
we can't have them feeling the same way we are when,
Right.
it's like, it's just a self-eating snake at this point. And it's absolutely abhorrent that this is
Because
even
they're getting
considered.
put in their own crisis states.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just sad.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate thing because it does have an impact.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
because with them having to carry the weight of that fear, that doesn't leave as much space for them to engage.
Right.
Um, like you said, never had anybody that wasn't great at their job that I've dealt with. And I've been to 3 different facilities. As far as I've noticed, it's never been the staff.
Right. Exactly. It's usually the bureaucracy.
Right. Exactly, exactly. So, I'm still in the midst of my own, like, claim journey and stuff like that,
Oh God, me too.
and it's hard right now. I just got an interview done with these 5 new focus for my PTSD. The interview that I had with the lady just a few weeks ago was completely different than the interview that I had with the woman last year. I did feel like more of how it affects me was seen through the way that she approached it. So I did feel like there was a positive impact in that light. And
Right.
that was clearly the woman doing the assessment that took the initiative to actually care to do that. I'm hoping that we can see the same thing that we've seen out of the staff in the past, where they're still going to do the best that they can with what they're provided. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, again, it's just like numbers matter when it comes to kind of this thing. And a good example is like my little area. I live in Anaconda, Montana. The Butte VA Center already has a real small staff. As far as I know, they haven't had any cuts just because I think there's only like 15 people there because it's tiny. In my area, Montana, there's already a mental health crisis. And a lot of veterans do live here. And so there's already limited resources just in the private sector, let alone with the VA. And it's like if these keep continuing and it starts hitting this, there's nothing. They're going to have
Yeah.
to drive 3 hours to Bozeman or to Billings. And, even then they're already small, because I mean, it's just we don't have a lot of population here in Montana. So,
If it's small, taking one person out of the equation is a massive hit on the ability for that staff to function. When it's looked at on paper, if we're just looking at it as just a numbers game, that one doesn't sound very significant, but
oh, yeah. No,
it's
I know.
detrimental.
Yeah, it's a massive percentage because I mean, that one person could be handling who knows how many, patients. And it's just like, gosh.
Yeah, I can tell you I've had 3 primary care doctors in the last year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. I was lucky. The primary care I go to is through my company's insurance and I love her. So I'm just like, I'm gonna stick with her. But
Like, what's something that's really cool is when you can get one that is willing to communicate with the VA for you.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And she's done that too. So it's been fantastic.
Did you have a TBI?
Yeah, my vehicle was hit with a IED and the whole front end blew off. And I don't really remember exactly what happened, but I remember seeing an orange blast and then I was out. And my vehicle commander told me that the 50 cal came off the mountain. He thinks that it basically slammed into my helmet, cracked that sucker in half. And so I had 3 skull fractures, phallic hematoma, and then cranial swelling for like weeks. And like they had to basically drill holes to bring the swelling down and then do all this fancy medical stuff. But yeah, I had some issues, man. I had tremors for like 10 years in my hands. So
So is that some of the stuff you're still having to fight with right now?
weirdly enough, the last 7 years, it just kind of went away. So, like the Navy Medical Center, when I got back, there was one neurologist there. He put me on a ADHD medication, Vyvanse. Basically, the research said that like amphetamines actually help rewire neural connections in your brain after a head injury, and that did wonders. But it was like crack because I wasn't ADHD, and I was on this for pushing 7 years, and so I lost. Oh my gosh, I lost so much weight. Like when my wife first met me, I was a waif. I weighed maybe 135,
Oh,
and
wow.
so it just thins you out. But
You're taller than me. How tall are you?
no, I'm only 5'8".
Yeah, but still 135, man. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was bad, and so they're not good for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, you said it was used to help restructure neural pathways?
Yeah, so apparently it's like a basically an after effect with particular types of head injuries. And this is me looking into the research years later because back then I was
Yeah.
dumb as hell. So anyway, it essentially helps you to rewire basically pathways that wouldn't necessarily do that with a head injury, and so it like stimulates that brain growth. It's beneficial big time, especially for people with head injuries.
Yeah. Dang, dude. That's super cool. So,
I
like,
know, right?
you've got that 100%, like, under service connection and everything?
Believe it or not, no. So
Oh,
they would not do it. And I've been fighting with them. And now, given I had to upgrade my discharge 2 years ago because I had that forever.
right.
And so I got it upgraded. And then now they got me on 20%. And it's just because the information I'm trying to pull from all of that is difficult because it's been so many years. When I got out, dude, I never kept my medical records. Like, dude, they were so parsed and like crap.
I have 1,700 pages.
Wow.
I uploaded every single one too. Um,
Goodness. Mine was
yeah.
only like maybe 150 pages because I swear to God they threw stuff away. Because I'm like,
Oh,
wait a minute, like, where's this? Like, it's like, oh, come on.
if I hadn't kept everything that I had, that would have been less than half the size, you know,
Wow.
for sure. Because, um, so I went to the Warrior Transition Unit, which is something that the Army has.
Ah, okay.
Which is a recovery program, actually, like, less than 1% of people return to duty. I was an RTD. I was actually one of the first people to be there 100% for mental health reasons.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah, and thankfully, I found out about this because when I was going to discharge, because I came home that unconventional way that I did, I had to go with a group of First Army. So there's like like eight of us
Sure.
random weirdos that had odd situations and had to come back from theater differently. In the middle of the night, they brought one into my room. And that was when I found out that I was dangerous.
Oh, no. Hey,
Yeah.
man, been there, done that. I kicked my mom in the stomach the first week I was back, so
It was eye-opening for me because I literally was choking him out, and I had him he was about to pass out when I actually realized what was going on. Um,
good God, man.
and, when that happened, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not okay." I'd never accepted that before, growing up in our generation, that whole rug the dirt in it thing with about mental health has kinda always been there. Because, I mean, honestly, the research wasn't there and back when, and there
Yeah,
wasn't
totally.
enough focus on it, of course. Growing up with that and then joining when we did. You were earlier than me by I joined in 2010, and
Oh, okay.
I was one of the last cycles to go through old school basic training before they implemented the new softer stuff. So
Oh,
I
I
was
gotcha.
I was actually all male. It was wild. I went to Fort Knox. They shut down basic training there shortly after that. They continued to train the cavalry there and everything as well, but like
Oh, gotcha.
they shut down the basic training portion of it. It was really cool though because I got an experience that I feel like died.
Yeah, no kidding. That's kind of a nice legacy to have, you know?
Yeah, and I did the obstacle course from the movie Stripes.
Oh, too cool.
Yeah, because Stripes was filmed in Fort Knox.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to go through and do an obstacle course and be like, Bill Murray did this, man. This is awesome.
Yeah. Now you can rub it in on the new army face, be like, haha, back in my
Right.
day. No.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a lot of it. Back in my day, that's where the trauma of it starts. Is the back in my day
I
discussion.
know, man. I know.
Critics warn that a push towards privatization may erode specialized VA care that is unique to veterans, and the move is being driven by political and financial interests. Reports describe widespread low morale, burnout, and fear among VA staff, especially amid layoffs and limitations on telework disrupting remote access. How do you see the VA's future amidst all that is changing so rapidly?
It's kind of ironic. I was talking about this with my wife. My wife actually works in the healthcare industry. When you privatize something that I think is, like you say here, it's unique. You know, a lot of private doctors who are not veterans are not going to be equipped to handle sort of what we went through. There has to be that rapport with VA specialists who most of them are veterans themselves for the most part, or at least trained in that purview. And so when you privatize that, you are truly taking a risk in sort of it'd be a lack of quality control really with the type of healthcare and the type of mental health needed, I think, for veterans. And that's why to me the VA is so important to maintain its integrity and to always have those services for this kind of stuff. Because I mean, the military breaks you, and civilian healthcare I don't think is equipped to handle a lot of that. So
Especially on the mental front. The
oh,
mental front
totally.
is so different.
Yep.
Um, the closest parallels that we have are civil service.
Right.
They've experienced trauma that's really similar. That's one of the things I've appreciated about everybody that I've ever met that's worked at the VA, staff-wise. The furthest connection that I've ever had has been I was a military brat and my dad was in the military. That's a furthest connection, furthest separation I've ever heard from a staff member.
Right.
Um, so it's still even something that's like close and near and dear to their heart, most of them, because it was their family and they want to serve the veterans that are coming after their parents and stuff like that. There's usually a really wholesome story behind it. Losing that level of compassion and care and empathy towards the type of things that we've experienced, I think is detrimental to the type of care that you
Correct.
can get.
I wholeheartedly agree.
That's not a position that we need to be in with the increasing rates. 1 in 3 veterans
Right.
have
Yep.
PTSD. Taking away the resource of having somebody with the level of empathy to know, and this blew my mind, but I heard Oklahoma was looking at turning over all mental health care to the criminal department.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness.
So if we're gonna go towards privatized and everybody gets outsourced, what about the veterans in Oklahoma if something like that actually did happen? You know?
Exactly.
Exactly. But what kind of care are they gonna get? They're not gonna get the care that they need. 'Cause I've been in groups with people where, there were substance abuse issues and homelessness, and once they found out that it was this deep-rooted pain that was inside them and they were able to turn their life around, I mean, they're night and day in a totally different position, and I don't feel like they would get that same kind of treatment that would get them to that place if we take away, that connection between
Absolutely.
patient and staff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's absolutely right. I mean, that is absolutely paramount for this kind of experience, the military experience, if you will, you know?
yeah, and it's good to hear that you're like, staff-wise, you guys are still having a good experience even with the limitations of how much staff y'all have. Just to hear that there's still that connection to staff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the old timers up here that I mean, most of them are Vietnam era or Korea. There's like a one Korean War vet up here. But yeah, they speak very highly of the VA here. I haven't been to it personally yet, but I just haven't needed to.
Even amongst all the changes that can drastically impact us, hearing that there's still that camaraderie between patient and staff, that gives me a good feeling that the staff's still gonna be on our side. They're gonna do everything they can.
I got into some trouble, and this is a good example of why privatized healthcare doesn't understand the struggles of veterans. So I got into some trouble at a bar. I was facing second degree assault charges. Beat the absolute ever living lights out of a guy. Don't get me wrong, he had it coming, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, the way I handled it was not the right way. So I went into just an absolute rage, and it actually spiked my blood pressure so much that I passed out afterwards. And so I went to the ER, and they were, police were there and all this stuff. And it was like, how do I put this? There was just a level of judgment. I think the privatized side tends to look at a lot of veterans as emotionally unintelligent. And it's like, no, we're traumatized. Yes, I shouldn't have done it, but I was also drinking. This is why the VA healthcare is so important, because it would be a different view of that if that were to take place if I went to a VA medical center or something. You know what I
There
mean? So,
there is, and that's one of the things that I don't want to get taken away. They started a new initiative, what did they call them? Peer support specialists.
ah,
So, they are veterans. They're just veterans.
that's
And they
awesome.
get trained in crisis management and how to like help guide someone through the mental health journey of the VA, not giving them the therapy themselves. Of course, they're there as an ear to lean on, but
Sure.
they're able to guide you through the process and help you get the resources that you need. Super cool initiative. And just like the 988 staff was one of the first ones to get hit, that was
Right.
also one of the other initiatives that was one of the first ones to get hit. And I've seen so much good come out of the peer support specialist. And so I had a manic episode last year, and actually the episode that I did with our friend Morgan
Oh, yeah.
was on that. When I had a manic episode and I went to the VA for treatment, I got treatment for what was going on. I wasn't treated like I was dangerous. I
Right.
feel like
Exactly.
if I would have went somewhere else, then I would have been treated as if I was dangerous.
Oh, yeah. And there's a total risk of being committed and all that kind of stuff. And that's what's scary is,
I did voluntarily.
no, no kidding.
And it was, I mean, honestly, it was one of the best decisions of my entire life. With the past experiences that I had, especially with that experience last summer, the world that we're living in today is terrifying. Uh,
Absolutely.
as a veteran and with the things that I'm seeing going on, when I leave the house, I am worried that that's the last time I'm going to leave the house before things go awry. Um,
Yep.
That's just from seeing parallels to the environment that I was in when I was deployed.
Absolutely, and I feel you there because I mean I just got on SSRIs. I'm on Zoloft. I started taking it last year, and it was right around winter time, and when all this stuff started ramping up towards the current administration, if you will, it just like you said, it just brought up all these memories, and I'm like, oh my god, and I started replaying all these sort of emotional states that I hadn't experienced in so long, and then of course when January came around, it just got worse. So I actually upped the dose, and it's helped me mitigate, I guess, a lot of the where I would be without them, I guess.
I take a whole little pharmacy, man. I take Lexapro, which I'm a huge advocate for that one. It's one of my favorites. And then I do take 400 milligrams of Seroquel.
Oh,
Um,
no kidding.
yes. I also take Prazosin, so I take a blood pressure medication. But that neutralizes my nightmares. It basically takes it from being like reliving a reality and turns it into more like watching a movie. Does that make
Oh, I
sense?
see.
When I've had flashback dreams, I wake up even more tired.
Oh, same, same. I
And
totally understand that.
so that helps me be able to rest even through that. Cause I mean, unfortunately, just with the way PTSD works, I had a therapist that said otherwise, but you have to live with it for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
You'll go through waves and phases where things are better and where things are worse, but it's something that you always have to be conscious of. So having those little things, and I love that a blood pressure medication, simple thing.
right.
I
Yeah.
love that they figured out that, hey, we can use blood pressure medication to help nightmares, and it works.
Yep.
And that was one of the things that came out of a VA study. If we don't have this kind of stuff going on, like I was part of a memory study for a while before they cut the funding to it. And I hated that they did because I was
Ah,
in a memory study for people with PTSD and the link between trauma and time dilation. And it was so cool because
interesting.
we were getting information, but then they cut the funding to it, and that one was a while back, and
That's a shame.
yeah, because I mean we were really learning some stuff, and it was cool because I was working with the same staff through the whole thing, and they were working with me and other patients as well, and it was just cool to see that while they were trying to help me figure out what was going on with myself, it was going to help other people.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's funny. I'm gonna look that study up because I'm curious. Like, so my neurologist told me that like a lot of my memory issues and like my concept of time is from the actual physical head trauma. But I often wonder, with like the constant state of hypervigilance and like my wife always jokes like we'll be driving or something and like down in Idaho we were visiting my father-in-law and I noticed a black cat in an alleyway 200 yards out. She's like, how the fuck did you see that? I was like, I don't know. It's funny because my perception of time is so vastly different from hers, and that intrigues me because I'm curious to see like what the
So
results were.
the private sector actually did finish doing research on it, and you're 100% right. It is connected. Trauma does have a connection to memory lapse, and we were working on trying to figure that out back in 2015.
Don't tell my wife because she's gonna be like, "You're gonna use that as an excuse every time you forget to get the milk."
Well, this even happens to people, just anybody who has trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an effect on the ability of recall for information because your brain gets so used to having to block things out. And
Damn,
so
that explains a lot. That is a facet of it I've never actually looked at. So
in the process of blocking out those bad memories, we also block out the good ones. And
that tracks.
then what ends up happening is, man, this was one of those things that just like threw me for a loop. I literally felt like I woke up from a terrible nightmare when I started getting the help that I needed.
Wow.
I don't like I feel like when I look back the time period that I was a heavy alcoholic, it's just like spotty memories. And what I've noticed as times went on since I've been working through those things and I've been processing the stuff that I went through, more of the memory from that time period has became more available to me. So
Interesting.
I love it and hate it at the same time. Because
Yeah, that makes sense.
there's things that I did that I'm not proud of, and I was just trying to numb the pain. That's what it
I
was.
get it. I get it.
I was doing everything I could to not put a barrel in my mouth, and
Yep.
thankfully, my wife was able to look at it as you were just surviving. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she almost left a couple of times, and I don't blame her, especially looking at the person who she was with. Just having somebody with me for the entire journey, I think that's been something that it's unique to my situation. I know. I can't be more happy for it because I feel like that's one of the only reasons I'm still here today, honestly.
No, I feel you. I feel you. I don't drink anymore. I quit drinking shit 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember,
Mhm.
but been there. I used to drown the pain, drown the memories, and back in the day before college, my life situation was pretty shit. And so, like, yeah, dude, I don't remember it. Like you said, it's just kind of like I look back and it's like a faint memory. I don't remember anything for the most part.
Yeah, and there was times where it was just I'm working until I can get to the next drink. I'm not proud of that. And unfortunately, I was so good at functioning, I was able to do things that I shouldn't have been able to do, and nobody would notice the difference.
Yeah. And
And
honestly, I say that comes from the military too. I mean, our ability to persevere despite, our current state.
you said you're not personally a patient right now, but you've gotten to know the experience through the people that you've talked to. You've had an impact and been out there with people from everywhere. So,
Yeah.
from your own journey and experience, what keeps veterans engaged with the VA system despite all the challenges? And how can we, as the veteran community, advocate for more improvements? You're out there using your voice, and people like me, so like social anxiety is absolutely paralyzing to me. So when I watch you do the kind of work that you're doing, I'm like, man, I love that he's out there.
Well,
And
thanks, man. That means a lot.
I really wish that I had the capacity to do it. It's inspirational to see that. Your opinion on how people could advocate for improvements is going to be impactful. You live in the mountains, but you've done all these different things and been all these different places. So I think that you've got a unique perspective on how advocacy actually takes effect, seeing it on the front line.
Sure. No, I appreciate the kudos, man. It's funny too because believe it or not, I'm an introvert. Like a long term social interaction exhausts me, but I know that it's necessary. And the one thing about me too is, like I tell everybody, I'm unabashedly myself. I will tell you how it is, and I think that's where I've been able to channel that a bit with working with people like Christopher Goldsmith and CFH and all that, and being involved in these things, because those are the camaraderie is what we got to stick to in terms of keeping engaged with the VA. And thankfully that just comes naturally with anybody who served, honestly. And so I think the engagement with veterans to the VA, there's no real threat there of that ever waning, in my opinion. But in terms of advocacy, we really need to look towards pushing hard on our state representatives, federal, well, as many as we can, I guess, really pushing hard on them and say, hey, you work for us. And to make sure that they know that we need this. We did our service to this country and it's necessary for them to do theirs for us, and well, I mean, for anyone, but,
Right. What you said about camaraderie, I think that is a big piece of it. And understanding that, see, the VA is like this very unique system where, like you said, you need to contact your state representatives and federal
right.
because the influence on the VA system is not just from federal, it's also in your community. Um,
Yeah.
Getting that backing from state representatives to get the support, it's more impactful than I think people realize.
Absolutely. And I would say too, the one thing that any military is good at is basically being blunt. And that's what's needed now. This idea of silent protest or getting out there with a sign and a good heart, it doesn't really do anything anymore. Not in the current state of things. So it's necessary for us to organize and to organize properly to really hit this hard. And they see that, when something's well organized and well orchestrated, it definitely hits home harder than it does with, just rabble rousing, essentially.
And I think we've got a good community of people
Absolutely.
with the veteran community, and like this is a topic for another day, but even just our civil service community. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that they deserve a level of care as well that they're not.
Absolutely.
We need to build the foreground to show them what that action can do so that they can see the change that we can make and maybe they can get something for themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they need the care just as much as we do because they're having to deal with our crazy asses. So
Oh, so much. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and so some of the little things that I put together, you can add to this as well. Some of the just practical advice for
okay,
veterans seeking mental health care. Know your options. Ask about telehealth. That's been a lifesaver for me. You said you're an introvert.
big time.
Telehealth has like been a game changer, and that's also one of the ones that we got to fight to keep as well, because that's one of the ones that's kind of getting under fire with everything that's going on.
Yeah, no kidding.
VA or community based care referrals, you can get community care. If in my current situation, the mental health wing at my VA here is understaffed by 10 psychologists. So we have community based care, and that is something that the VA is really pushing towards, but that's that privatized. My advice would be try to stay within the VA care system if you can, but if not,
Right.
you've got the availability of community care. You've got something there to work with.
Absolutely. And I can add to that too. You know, if you do want to go outside the VA system, there are resources you can look up with civilian psychologists and you can check to see if they're veterans or anything of that nature to see their background. Because I've done that when I was living out in middle of nowhere, Nacogdoches, Texas. Found a therapist who was a veteran. I was like, oh, perfect. You know, and so there was a relatability aspect to that. So, you know, if you do have to go outside or want to, it's always good to vet that kind of thing.
When I was waiting to get care, because that happened, I did BetterHelp, and
Oh, yeah.
I got a guy who was police force before he got a psychology degree. He was able to help me and work with me on things on a familiar level, but also give me another perspective of how he dealt with trauma that was similar. That was really cool too. So like even finding somebody just that can relate to the situation sometimes, that pays off tenfold.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, because they deal with similar things. So
Understanding your benefits. So, like copays for mental health outpatients are waived for the first 3 visits each year. That goes for anybody that is a VA patient. That's regardless of service connection to a psychiatric disorder. You have access to that. And then if you need further help from there, they can work to help get you that either at a reduced rate or covered under the VA, depending on where you're at with your service connection and stuff. So, most of those benefits kick in around 50%. Kyle, something for you. As you get the increase, do you guys have a VSO anywhere nearby you?
I think we do, as a matter of fact. I want to say I think they're based out of Helena.
Yeah, so talking with a VSO is really awesome because the veterans benefits that you get from federal benefits is one thing, but each state has their own veterans benefits. Free tags, stuff like free hunting and fishing license. I get that here because I live in Sportsman's Paradise. Free access
Nice.
to state parks, which is awesome because we camp. There's a bunch of different things that you may not even know about or you may not even be able to hear about through the VA system, that working with a veteran service officer because they are state. That's another reason why your state officials need to be involved, is because these VSOs also, not only do they help you get more benefits that you can claim for yourself, but they can also help you while you're working through a claim to not only get it in properly so that you get the most out of that cycle of going through the claim process, but also that you get as much in there and the details are the way that the system wants to see it in order for you to talk to the right people. It's a huge resource that's state funded that is really worth looking into.
Yeah, I need to look into that. I just honestly haven't had time, but yeah, I'd like to because I mean at the state through the DMV, they give you like, your vet plates and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of any other benefits, I'm gonna look into that. This is
Yeah,
interesting.
dude, because the state park thing, I love
That'd be
that.
sick.
Because like it's me and whoever else is in the car.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Hell, if you came over here, we could just go to a state park and not have to pay anything. It's awesome.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm a huge backpacker camper. So I mean, hell, that's why I live
Dude,
in Montana.
now, this is another state benefit that I absolutely love, and this is one of the reasons to talk to a VSO. So I already get forgiven on part of my property taxes.
Oh wow, no kidding.
Yeah, so since I'm over 50%, I'm at 60. 40% of my property taxes for the year is paid by the state.
That
So
is fantastic.
Which overall, it's a couple of dollars on your mortgage, but hell, if you can knock anything off your mortgage, that's amazing. And I know for 100%, once you can get to that, there's even the potential of completely being tax free for the rest of your life. Um,
God, that would be awesome.
so it's worth it to look into these things because, like you said, there's people that are still on the fence of trying to get care or not. Like, what
Right.
should I bring this up? That's one of the things behind getting care for mental health. I mean, even people who didn't deploy, they went through some psychological stuff too. You know,
Oh, hands down. I mean,
um,
Marine Corps boot camp alone will fucking give you PTSD. So,
Dude, it's like it's naive to think that there hasn't been somebody else in your shoes before too. So
right.
it's definitely time to like take action and get the help that you can, especially like before anything else gets taken away. Getting in and now is gonna help you further on in the future. Like you already being registered with 20%, like the rest of it, it starts getting to be more downhill smooth slope. The initial
Right.
rating, that's the hardest part. Once you got the initial part done, getting working with the right person and you don't have to pay anyone. Do not pay someone to do it. There are so many people out there that will take your money when there's people that are paid to do this job by the government. Don't let anybody take your money.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I know in the state of Montana they have free advocacy for that. So,
Yeah, and I've had some friends of mine in the past that have gotten wrapped up in that before they actually looked into anything. That's kind of when they try to sneak their hooks into people is like before they've gotten help. It's kind of sad that it's legal to do it.
no
In my
kidding.
opinion.
So sad.
Yeah, it's a little messed up.
I know it's just straight up grifting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. 100%. Like we don't see that in every other aspect of healthcare, you know.
Oh yeah, don't get me started.
Jesus Christ. If you've in the past been assessed, getting reassessed is probably something that you want to do because this could open up an avenue for you to get more coverage, more service connection than you had before. And that's one of the reasons why it's really important to stay on top of veterans news as well.
Yep,
So that you
absolutely.
know when these things happen. This whole conversation has been really good, and
I've enjoyed the hell out of this, man.
it's really nice to talk to somebody else that's kind of been where I've been before and,
Sure.
hear your journey and how you've been able to find your own peace.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Some of the stuff you're telling me, it's pretty rough, dude. Uh
Yeah, yeah, and it's still a burden some days, but yeah, I'm definitely doing much better. So
And I'm glad for that. I'm glad for
yeah,
that. Like I said, I love see you do the things that you do because it's very inspirational. If people are not following you already that are listening to this, they need to go and follow just a little off grid too, right? We're on the two one, right?
yeah, I got banned on my first account. So
Yeah, I thought so. I got banned on my first one too. I used to be another broke dad, and then when I came back after going inpatient for that stay, I nixed my old account from 2018 because, funny enough, my account got attacked by a group of men that didn't like that I was a man talking about mental health. So I got restricted down to like I couldn't comment on anybody's stuff. They couldn't see my comments unless they approved it, no matter what.
oh wow.
I couldn't do lives. I was restricted to 1 minute videos, and the restriction was until the year 2036.
Wow, I didn't even know they could do that. That's wild.
And it was funny because I just made a satire comedy post. Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse made a joke about running for president.
Oh,
And
awesome.
this was during the presidential campaign and everything. So I stitched his video and saluted the American flag. They took that opportunity to take me down for political affiliation.
What?
Yes.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness.
and they got that account banned until the year 2036, and there was nothing I could do about it.
Jesus.
So when I came back, I added the in the brackets because not only am I broke, but I've been through a lot of mental health stuff. And that was when I made the decision to open Broken Media and create this whole space that we're in now.
Yeah, no, this is great, honestly. And I'll be honest with you, man. That means a lot. That you took some inspiration from that. Because I'll be honest, I was about to just quit social media entirely, like probably the last week. I don't know, man. Like I got to a point where, and I mean, maybe you probably feel this way too, but I'm a person of action. The performative, nonsense of social media just it felt so fucking icky. And I got to a point where I was like, what am I even doing? And I was like, this is just fuck, I just felt like it was irrelevant.
Right.
I'm so, like you said, off the cuff, and I will speak my mind no matter what. And I think that's important, and you
It
gave
is
me you gave me some inspiration to get back into it, man. I thank you for that. So
it's valuable and it's needed in the right space.
right.
And that
Exactly.
right space needs to be provided because,
Right.
you tried to see if that space would work for you, and it doesn't, and that's fine. That just
Yep.
means that there's another opportunity out there that's gonna be more fitting for you, and I
Sure.
know with the way that you are able to use your voice and say things, and especially the whole off the cuff thing, and be able to do it the way that you do, it's something that's valuable to people that can't go out there and do that. Because it's like having somebody there to be a voice for you when you can't stand in front of everyone.
Man, that's awesome. That means a lot, dude. Like I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
it's
You probably don't get enough feedback in all honesty, because there's a lot more criticism that comes along with opening up and using your voice than there is positive reinforcement.
that's
Uh,
very true.
and it's so funny because it doesn't matter what it is that you decide to talk about. If you open yourself up and you open up and start using your voice, there's gonna be people that want to come and shut you down. You know,
Yep. Yep.
um,
Absolutely.
like my whole goal has always been to just be a free mental health resource to help people, you know? And
Yeah.
a group of guys decided they didn't like that, and like you said, with the constructs of social media, and thankfully things have changed a little bit. I'd like to see them progress in a much better way that was more First Amendment supportive. But
Yeah. I agree.
we've moved to a place now where if that happened again, I feel like I would be able to advocate for myself and regain access to myself. It's that whole check in the boxes thing, man. I know exactly what you're talking about, cuz like for the last little bit there, I've felt like my own stuff, my heart wasn't in it. I had to take a little look at my roots of what I was doing and go, why don't we go back to the whole reason we came here in the first place and have fun doing it at the same time as still putting that information out there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I love your content because I mean you approach things in a manner that's like empathetic, but also like, I mean, well, I'm sure you have the same taste in music that I do. So it's kind of like, hell yeah.
yeah, and that's one of the things that I think is important with the short form. It's for opening the door, you know?
Right. Exactly.
We can open the door for people there to let them in to a space and let them know what they're gonna get out of it. But I think there's a certain limitation to it as well. You
Agreed.
know,
Agreed. And I'm glad you see that. That was kind of what I was formulating in the hiatus I took for the last couple weeks.
a huge thank you to Kyle Spaulding for cutting out the time to join us today for another Broken Podcast. If you are in crisis, veteran or not, don't hesitate to dial 988. Veterans choose option 1 to reach the Veteran Crisis Line. If any of today's message resonated with you, share it with someone else that you think might like to hear it. As always, we'd love to hear from you by either leaving a comment on this episode or shooting us an email at brokenmedia1984 at gmail.com. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to follow me on TikTok under the username Another Broken Dad. And if you haven't gotten the chance to yet, check out our website and definitely head over to the merch store where you can not only represent but help support Another Broken Podcast. I really appreciate you guys taking out the time to listen to this episode today, and I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Until next time, I'm Nick Taylor. Have a good one, guys.